Okay, so I'm back to the worksheet that I was working on with naming compounds, and I'm going to go through a few more naming. Hopefully some of you guys that are struggling are taking the time to pay attention and watch these. So let's go ahead and start with number 5. The first one is silver. Silver is Ag. Okay. Silver is one of those that is a transition. It's right here. But silver is always a +1. Always a +1. So again, that would be something you might want to put on your paper if you don't have the paper copy that we had earlier. So silver is a +1. Nitrate, okay, nitrate. And you should become familiar with these names, but here is nitrate. Okay, now it is very hard to see here. This is NO3, so if you needed to fix that, you might. So maybe you might missed it because you didn't notice that. So this is NO3. Put a little arrow there, that one. And it has a -1 charge. Remember, never change the name of a polyatomic. Okay, never change the name. So when I come over here to this, it is NO3. It is a 1-. So I have a 1+ and a 1-. That zeroes out. So this is AgNO3. And the name of it then would be silver. Silver does not have multiple charges. You don't see a Roman numeral here. Therefore, there's not going to be a Roman numeral here. And then again, the polyatomic name never changes. So silver nitrate. I'm going to have to go back to my other marker. This one's about to die. Okay, beryllium. Beryllium is Be. Oxygen, another element, is O. So let's go to our periodic table. Beryllium, +2. Oxygen's over here. It's a -2. So 2+, 2-. Again, a 2+ and a 2- equals 0. Therefore, I don't need any more. So it is beryllium oxide. Okay. Again, going back to the name here is that if my anion is from this periodic table, I just put the "ide" on it. Again, ox, and it just changes "ide." Okay. So instead of ox and then that Y, oxide, oxide. Next one, calcium. Bromine. Both are going to be on the periodic table. So calcium, +2. Bromine, a -1. Okay. Again, I've got 2 positives. I've got 1 negative. They are not going to zero out, so I'm going to need another bromine. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to have 2 calciums bonded to 2 bromines. So when I come to name it, I only had 1 calcium. I have 2 bromines. Again, bromine is from the periodic table. Okay, and maybe I need to slide this over closer so that it's over here on this side, because we're only talking about the anions, which are going to be your non-metals all the time. Okay, bromine is in that list. It's just going to end in "ide." So calcium is going to stay the same. Again, the first always stays the same. Calcium bromide. Number 8, 10-4. So it's already given me the charge because it gave me the Roman numeral. So 10 is SN. It tells me it is a 4+. sulfate. That should ring a bell that that's going to be on my polyatomic page. Okay, so sulfate is SO4, and it is a 2-. And remember, we never change the name of the polyatomic. So it's SO4, and it's a 2-. Now, when you look at this one, I have 4 positives and 2 negatives. So again, I'm going to need another sulfate. So I have 4 positives, and now I have 4 negatives. So it is SN. I need 2 of these. And remember, when you need 2 of your polyatomics, that's when you put the parentheses in. Again, going back to the naming. Anytime I name a transition, I do have to put the Roman numeral in. And when I name a polyatomic, I don't change the naming. Now, I am going to take a minute and talk about this problem again, as will a couple of them in just a few minutes. So I'm going to come back to a couple of these problems. Beryllium, Ba. Ba, positive 2. Nitrogen, just going to give me an N, it's just nitrogen. It's a 3-. Okay, so again, when I add together positive 2 and a negative 3, that is not going to equal 0. So I'm going to need at least another positive. So this is what I have. Now I have 4 positives, 3 negatives. That's not going to work either. Give me another one of the negatives because I have more positives this time. So now I've got 6 negatives, 4 positives, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to come back and add another one. Now I've got 2, 4, 6 positives and 3, 6 negatives. So now I've got my answer. So I have 3 bariums, and I have 2 nitrogens. Again, the first word is always spelled the same, or said the same. And then my nitrogen, again, I change it to an ide. Nitride, nitride. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and talk about this one just for a second, and I'm going to back up and do one of the others. So I'm going to kind of slide down here to the bottom real quick. And let's just look at a couple of these. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look at the last 3. Okay, so let's look at calcium bromide. So we had calcium, which was a 2+, bromine, which was a 1-. And guys, if you'll remember, we have talked about this, but I think some of you guys are not quite understanding it. What's called the crisscross. So all you have to do is take this number and put it there, and this number and put it there. So that makes that Ca1, Br2. Now the only thing with that is we've talked about we don't put the 1s on there, so we can just take that off. So if counting it as I did up here doesn't make any sense, here's your second option. Okay, now I'm going to do 10, Sn, it's a 4+, and sulfate, SO4, and it's a 2-. So again, the same thing. So the 4 is going to go here, the 2 here. So I'm going to have, and you could go ahead and write those there, but one of the things that you see on this one is I have a 2 and a 4. And we always want the smallest number. So this is where you would need to reduce those to get the Sn, SO4, 2 that was our answer up here. Okay, and so the crisscross doesn't work here because of the fact those are not in simplest form. So just be careful with that one. Okay, this barium, nitride that we were doing that got a little long. Let's just look at it using the crisscross method. So I have barium, which is a 2+. I have nitrogen, which is a 3-. Again, if I crisscross it, this 2 is going to come right here. This 3 is going to come here. So I have Ba3N2, which is exactly what my answer was. So just giving you a different option as a way to do it. Do it the crisscross method. Maybe that makes sense to you. Maybe you need to write them out. Either way, I don't care, whatever makes sense to you. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.